My daughter laughed while I stood there holding the cheap gift bag she tossed aside, surrounded by her rich dad's friends, all smirking like I didn't exist. What they didn't know, what even she didn't know, was that I had just signed the papers to buy out her father's company. 3 weeks later, she watched me fire him in front of the entire boardroom, her smile gone and mine just beginning. I am Rebecca, 43 years old, and for a long time, I thought being a good mother meant enduring things in silence. I was 23 when I had my daughter, Olivia. Her father, Grant, was the golden boy of his family, charming, wealthy, and utterly incapable of real love. We got married too young. The cracks showed early, but I held on for Olivia. When she was 7, Grant's affair with his assistant went public, and the media frenzy nearly broke me. He painted me as unstable in court, flaunted his new wife's wealth, and somehow walked away with joint custody and Olivia's loyalty. I got primary custody for the early years, but he poisoned her slowly. Fancy trips, designer gifts, exclusive schools. When Olivia turned 16, she told me she wanted to live with him full time. "You're too intense," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Dad lets me breathe." That one sentence hurt more than all the court battles combined. I didn't stop her. I couldn't. Grant had that kind of pull, manipulative and money-wrapped. I kept texting, kept calling, kept showing up to recitals and graduations. But each time, I felt myself fading in her world. My job as a nurse barely paid the bills. I wasn't glamorous or exciting or the kind of mom she could brag about on Instagram. Olivia started calling me by my first name when she was around her father. "Rebecca will drive me," she'd say casually, like I was some nanny. One Christmas, I saved for 3 months to get her a necklace she'd once pointed out. She opened it, smiled politely, and said, "Thanks, but Dad already got me a Cartier one last week." I cried in my car for an hour before I drove home that night. Still, I held on. I kept thinking she'd remember who wiped her tears when she scraped her knees, who stayed up all night when she had the flu. But memory is fragile when someone's dangling first-class flights and birthday yachts in your face. She didn't just drift away, she chose him, repeatedly, publicly, and each time she did, a little more of my heart hardened. It wouldn't be until years later, after the ultimate betrayal, that I finally realized what I had to do. Grant always had a knack for illusion. To the world, he was a self-made mogul. He ran a chain of boutique wellness spas called Ellen Vital, and his new wife, Stephanie, was the poster child for his success. Tan, tight-faced, and always holding a flute of champagne in someone's Instagram story. They lived in a gated community in Marin, drove matching Range Rovers, and posted cringy family-first quotes while secretly refusing to speak to anyone who made less than 6 figures. But beneath the filters and brunch selfies, I knew the truth. Grant's empire was built on sand. I'd heard whispers through a friend who worked in commercial leasing, missed payments, restructured loans, sudden staff turnover. While Olivia posted pictures of poolside brunches with her daddy, Grant was busy moving money around like a magician on the brink of collapse. At first, I didn't care. I told myself I was above it, that his world wasn't mine. But then came that dinner, Olivia's 21st birthday. She invited me last minute. "Stephanie said it's fine if you come, just dress nice, okay?" she added, like I was an embarrassing aunt, not her mother. I spent the whole day trying to find something suitable. The party was at some trendy rooftop place in San Francisco. I bought a modest black dress and borrowed heels from my friend Claire. I even paid for a blowout I couldn't afford. When I got there, no one greeted me. Olivia didn't even hug me. I stood awkwardly with a gift bag in hand, while Grant made a loud show of presenting her with keys to a brand new car. Everyone cheered. Champagne flowed. I watched my daughter cry with joy, and not once did she look at me. Later that evening, she opened my gift, an engraved bracelet with the coordinates of the hospital she was born in. She read the card, smiled briefly, and said, "Aw, that's sentimental." Then she set it down and never touched it again. Grant made a toast and cracked a joke about some people never leveling up, and the whole table laughed. Olivia didn't stop him. That night, as I drove home barefoot with blisters on my feet and shame in my throat, I made a silent vow. I was done waiting to be loved. I was done being humiliated. And for the first time in years, I knew exactly how to fight back, with silence, strategy, and patience. After that night, I cut off contact. Not out of bitterness, but because I needed air. I didn't block Olivia. I didn't send angry texts. I simply stopped reaching out. No more birthday cards mailed weeks in advance. No more just checking in texts. Nothing. And the silence was met with silence. For the first few months, she didn't notice. Or if she did, she didn't care. My phone stayed cold. Then, one random Wednesday about 7 months later, I got a text. "Hey, do you still have your Costco card? I wanted to go shopping this weekend." I stared at it for a long time. No apology. No how are you? Just a favor. Like I was a utility. I didn't respond. 2 weeks later, "Do you know how to file taxes if you got paid in cash from a gig?" Again, no warmth. Just extraction. It hurt, but I kept my boundary. I wasn't her backup generator anymore. And then came the kicker, a wedding invitation. Grant and Stephanie were throwing an engagement party for Olivia and her fiancé, Drew, some tech bro from Palo Alto. I was invited, of course, not personally, not by Olivia, just a generic envelope with Rebecca Evans typed on the label. The event was black tie, in Napa. "Please arrive no later than 6 p.m. for photos and cocktails." I laughed out loud. Photos? Right. I RSVP'd no. 2 weeks later, Olivia called me. That in itself was shocking. Hey, she said, unsure. So I noticed you didn't RSVP. I just thought, maybe you'd want to come? It's important to me. I stayed quiet. She sighed. I mean, Dad's side is all going to be there, and I thought it would be nice if my real mom showed up too. Her real mom. Not you, not I miss you. Just a concept, a prop for appearances. Olivia, I said gently, you haven't really spoken to me in a year. I don't think this is about family. I think it's about image. She didn't respond. I didn't go. From that moment, I knew she wouldn't come back for love, only for leverage. And if I ever wanted closure, it wouldn't be through her affection. It would have to come from me reclaiming everything they ever used to belittle me. And so I went to work. I spent the next several months researching every detail of Grant's business. At first, it was just curiosity, like scratching an old scar. But the more I dug, the more I realized how weak his foundation was. Alon Vital looked glamorous on the outside, sleek websites, influencer collabs, luxurious spa packages. But financially, it was a mess. Overextended, staff lawsuits, vendor debts, and he'd recently lost a key investor due to ethical disagreements, which I later learned meant someone finally caught wind of his shady expense reports. I wasn't rich, but I was smart and patient. I'd saved every spare dollar from the hospital shifts, picked up overtime, sold old furniture. I took online courses in small business acquisition. I spoke to lawyers, brokers, accountants. At night, I'd study deal structures while sipping cheap wine and pretending the bracelet Olivia ignored wasn't sitting right next to me. By month 7, I found a backdoor. A shell LLC he'd used for real estate purchases was deeply in debt, and one of the properties was co-owned with his main holding company. Long story short, one bad loan gave me leverage on another. And through a friend of a friend who knew a broker, I learned that Grant was trying to sell off a portion of his business to cover losses from a spa fire settlement. He was desperate, and desperate men take stupid risks. I formed a holding group with Claire and her husband. On paper, it looked like a boutique hospitality startup looking to expand. We came in with a clean offer. Cash heavy, above market but with a quiet caveat. Complete executive authority transfer, no public announcement for 90 days, and an NDA from Grant for brand integrity. He signed in 3 days. It took everything in me not to laugh when I saw his signature on the closing papers. And just like that, I owned 78% of Elon Vital. The company he used to buy my daughter's affection. The symbol of everything he believed made him untouchable. I didn't tell a soul, not even Claire, what I was planning next. All I knew was this. Olivia still thought her daddy was the king of his empire, and I was going to make her watch as the crown fell. I didn't rush it. I let Grant sit on his gilded throne for a while, strutting around like nothing had changed. The NDA kept him quiet. He couldn't tell anyone about the transfer of control. As per the agreement, he was to remain a figurehead CEO for brand continuity, while my team did a full audit behind the scenes. He probably thought he could worm his way back into control. He always thought he could talk his way out of anything. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was watching. I hired a private HR firm to do a deep dive into employee records. The stories that came back were vile. Staff being underpaid, harassed, gaslit, and threatened with termination if they ever complained. Multiple NDAs, dozens of resignations swept under the rug, the kind of corporate rot that festered under a charming narcissistic boss no one dared question. I replaced the entire upper management team within a month, quietly, legally, strategically. Grant didn't even realize how many of his trusted executives had already flipped allegiance. They answered to me now, and the few loyalists he had left, I offered them generous severance packages and pushed them out with a smile. I waited until everything was lined up. Finances clean, new COO briefed, HR airtight, legal counsel on standby, before I made my move. The opportunity came quicker than expected. Olivia invited me to her bridal shower, not because she missed me. No, it was because she wanted to post a picture with her mom for her wedding website, all about aesthetic unity. I politely declined. 3 days later, I received an email from Grant's assistant asking if Ms. Evans would be available to join our executive strategy meeting on Monday as a guest of Mr. Delancey. He still didn't know. He was bringing me into a meeting, my own boardroom, thinking I was some outsider desperate to be included. I didn't respond. Instead, I had my team schedule an emergency leadership transition meeting for that exact day. I made sure Olivia was there too. She worked freelance doing social media consulting for the company, a vanity role Grant gave her to keep her feeling important. She arrived in a crisp cream suit, sipping a $9 latte, barely looking at me as she walked in. She still didn't know. Neither of them did. But by the time that meeting ended, everything they thought was secure would be gone. The boardroom was sleek, glass-walled, and pretentious, exactly Grant's style. Olivia sat near him, her laptop open, her phone face up on the table, like she was just too busy and important to fully commit to the meeting. She didn't even glance at me when I walked in, but I saw her eyes twitch, confused, maybe even irritated. Grant stood when he saw me. "Rebecca," he said with a smirk, gesturing like I'd walked into the wrong room. "Sorry, sweetheart, this is an internal meeting. Guests usually wait outside." I smiled gently and took the seat at the head of the table. His face twitched. Just a flicker. Excuse me, he chuckled. That's my seat. No, I said calmly, placing my folder on the table. It's mine. Silence. Olivia looked up, frowning. Before he could speak again, my new COO, Meredith, walked in with the company lawyer and two other board members, all people Grant hadn't bothered to get to know in the transition period. They greeted me, not him. Meredith slid a stack of printed documents across the table. As of the signed acquisition agreement dated February 17th, full executive authority rests with Ms. Evans, our majority shareholder and principal owner. Grant blinked. This is a joke. This is fraud. It's airtight, said the lawyer, and you signed everything yourself. We have recordings. Olivia's jaw slowly dropped. She looked between us, her perfect manicure tapping the table nervously. You bought my company? Grant whispered, eyes wild. Not yours, I said softly. Not anymore. Then I turned to security, who had been briefed in advance. Mr. Delancey no longer has access to this facility. Please escort him out. He may collect his personal belongings through legal counsel. Wait, are you kidding me? Olivia shot up, her voice shaking. You can't do this to him. He built this. I met her eyes for the first time in years, and he used it to humiliate me, again and again. But more importantly, he broke people, hurt people, protected no one but himself. Mom, I held up a hand. You haven't called me that in years. Let's not start now. Grant tried to lunge forward, but security moved quicker. As they led him out, he shouted back, You're nothing but a bitter woman with a checkbook. I didn't flinch. Olivia just stood there, stunned, her phone forgotten on the table. She had just watched her world shift under her heels, and I hadn't even raised my voice. The fallout started before the boardroom door even stopped swinging. Olivia stayed seated after Grant was escorted out, her expression stunned into silence. She was still trying to process what had just happened. For the first time, she looked at me not with contempt or dismissal, but with something else. Fear? Awe? Maybe both. She opened her mouth a few times, like she wanted to say something, but no words came. I didn't wait for her to find them. I'm not here for revenge, I said, standing slowly. I'm here to clean up the mess he made and protect the people he never did. Then I walked out. Over the next few days, the company went into full stabilization mode. Meredith and the HR team began rolling out a comprehensive restructure, new contracts, mental health benefits, harassment policy overhauls. We rehired some staff who had been wrongfully pushed out. For the first time, the business wasn't running on intimidation and illusion. It was grounded in purpose. But Olivia? She didn't go down quietly. The next day, I got a voicemail from her. I just can't believe you do this to your own daughter. Do you know what people are saying? Do you have any idea how humiliating this is for me? Not once did she ask if it was true, if Grant had been hurting people. If I had a reason, it was all about appearances, her embarrassment, her image. I didn't call her back. A week later, I learned she'd been cut off, Grant's accounts frozen, his assets under review from multiple lawsuits that had come out of hiding once he was no longer protected. Olivia's credit card stopped working. Her car, which had been leased under Grant's company, was repossessed. Her so-called fiancé, Drew, ghosted her 2 weeks before the wedding. Probably saw the empire crumble and ran for the hills. She showed up at my office, no appointment, no warning. She looked small, hair pulled back, makeup smudged, her voice shaking. Can we talk? She asked. I led her into the conference room and waited. She finally broke. I didn't know. About him, about everything. I thought I was doing what made sense, what gave me a better future. I nodded. You made your choice. Tears welled up in her eyes. I didn't think you'd ever do something like this. I looked her straight in the eye, and that's why it worked. Olivia didn't know how to handle a world where her father wasn't the safety net beneath her every stumble. Suddenly, her credit accounts were frozen. Her apartment, rented under Grant's name, required proof of income. Her so-called career in consulting dried up once the company email stopped working, and the title she wore like jewelry vanished overnight. She tried calling me again, left a few voice messages. They ranged from angry and self-righteous to tearful and uncertain. I didn't respond. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I just couldn't go back to the version of me that begged to be seen. I had worked too hard to reclaim my dignity, and this silence, it was my oxygen now, but life has a funny way of forcing confrontation. One morning, as I walked into the main office, I saw her sitting in the lobby, jeans, no makeup, hair tied up in a messy bun. For the first time in years, she looked like a real person, not some curated version of her Instagram profile. Please, she said, standing as I passed, can I just have 5 minutes? I hesitated, then nodded. We sat in a side room, quiet and sterile. She wrung her hands, staring at the floor. I don't know how to fix this, she whispered. I know I was awful. I know I chose him. I guess I thought he loved me more because of the way he showed it. Money, attention, all that. But it was fake, wasn't it? All of it. I didn't answer. She needed to sit with that truth. I ignored you for so long, she continued, her voice cracking. And the worst part is, when you showed up, when you did something incredible, I didn't even recognize it. I was just embarrassed. Because it meant you weren't pathetic. You were powerful, and I didn't want to admit I'd been wrong. I finally spoke. I didn't buy that company to get back at you, Olivia. I did it to stop him from hurting more people. But I'd be lying if I said watching you both fall wasn't clarifying. She flinched, but nodded. I deserve that. I leaned back in my chair. The question now is, what do you do with that clarity? Because forgiveness isn't a door someone else opens for you. It's one you have to build, one painful brick at a time. After that meeting, Olivia disappeared for a while. No texts, no voicemails, no surprise visits. I figured maybe she'd gone crawling back to someone else who could fund her lifestyle, or maybe she was licking her wounds in silence. But about 6 weeks later, I got an email from a generic Gmail address, no subject line. I started waiting tables, just part time. It's humbling. I'm trying to learn what life looks like when no one hands you shortcuts. I'm not asking for anything, just wanted you to know I heard you. I really did. I reread it 5 times. It wasn't an apology exactly. It didn't fix years of rejection, but it was honest. And that was new. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded it to myself just so I'd have it saved in another inbox. Not as revenge, not as proof. Just so I could remember she wasn't completely gone. Because the truth is, even after everything, I still missed her. The Olivia I raised, the little girl who clung to my leg in grocery stores and made me breakfast on Mother's Day by pouring cereal into a coffee mug. That girl had been buried beneath years of privilege and manipulation. But maybe, she was still in there somewhere. A few months after that email, I ran into her again, this time at a local community event Elan Vital sponsored. She was helping set up folding chairs. No heels, no designer bag, no entourage, just her. Real, tired, trying. She saw me and smiled, awkward, hesitant, but genuine. I nodded back. We didn't speak much that day. But she stayed through cleanup, helped stack tables, said goodbye with a quiet take care, Mom. That word, Mom. It hit differently now. No performance, no audience. Just the two of us in the emptying gymnasium. I knew better than to get my hopes up. But something inside me, something soft and slow, started to thaw. Not everything needed to be fixed right away. Sometimes it was enough just to see the cracks and know the light was trying to come in. I didn't invite Olivia back into my life overnight. Too much had happened. Too many years where her silence hurt more than anything her father ever did. But slowly, so slowly, it started to shift. She'd send the occasional email or text, never asking for money, never fishing for praise. Just small updates. I got a new apartment. Tiny, but it's mine. Learned how to file taxes. Legit this time. Tried making your pot roast recipe. It was a disaster, but I didn't burn the kitchen down. She was learning how to stand on her own, and for the first time in her life, I think she finally respected what that meant. What it had cost me to do it for so long without help, applause, or backup. We met for coffee once, neutral ground, short and light. She cried a little. I didn't. I couldn't, but I listened. She told me she wasn't ready to ask for forgiveness because she didn't know if she deserved it. I told her forgiveness wasn't a prize. It was a process, and I wasn't doing it for her. I was doing it for me. She asked if I hated her. I said no. I just didn't trust her yet. And trust, like forgiveness, isn't something you can buy or demand. It's earned, one small act at a time. We left that cafe with no promises, no dramatic hug, no I love yous, just a shared understanding. We might never be what we once were, but maybe, if we both worked at it, we could become something new. And that was enough for me, because I had finally reclaimed something more valuable than her love or her father's respect. I had reclaimed myself, not as some scorned ex-wife or invisible mother or failed woman, but as someone who didn't let bitterness rot her from the inside out, someone who fought back, with intelligence, with restraint, and with devastating grace. It's been a year since that boardroom day, the day I took back more than just a company. Grant moved out of California. Word is, he's holed up somewhere in Nevada, trying to start some half-baked wellness podcast with a new girlfriend half his age. I hear whispers that he still badmouths me to anyone who'll listen. That doesn't bother me anymore. Let him talk. The people who matter know the truth now. Elan Vital is thriving. We rebranded slowly, subtly. No more smoke and mirrors. Just honest care, well-treated employees, and services people can trust. The staff I kept, they thank me, often. And not because I'm their boss, but because I listened when no one else did. As for Olivia, we're still finding our way. She comes around for dinner every few weeks. Sometimes we laugh. Sometimes we sit in silence. And that's okay. She's working now. Not some glamorous social media perfect gig, but a job that pays the bills and teaches her how to be someone instead of appearing to be someone. The other day, she brought me flowers. Nothing fancy, just a bunch of daisies from the farmer's market. She said, I thought you deserved something simple, something real. I smiled. That meant more than any Cartier bracelet ever could. We're not perfect. We're not healed, but we're real, and that's more than I ever thought I'd get. Sometimes you have to lose everything, including your own child, to find out what you're truly made of. And when the chance for peace comes, it won't always look like an apology. It might look like a quiet coffee, a flower, a phone call with no agenda. You just have to be willing to receive it. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved because staying meant losing yourself? This story wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming self-worth after years of being dismissed, overlooked, and underestimated. Sometimes The loudest justice isn't rage or punishment, it's quiet strength, steady growth, and becoming everything they swore you'd never be. If my journey resonated with you, even a little, please hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who's learning how to stand back up after being knocked down. You're not alone, and you're not broken. Whether you're a parent who's been abandoned, a child who's waking up to hard truths, or someone trying to rebuild a sense of self after betrayal, your story matters too. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, have you ever been forced to choose between peace and people? What helped you make that decision? You deserve to define success on your own terms. And if someone ever tried to write you off, write yourself a better ending. Because healing isn't about who apologizes, it's about who you become after the silence.